Welcome once again as we take time to let God speak to us. Let Him show us His love, His compassion, His mercy, His grace. He loves us. He does not fail us. He's promised to us so much. If only we will listen to Him. If only we will have confidence in Him. It takes trust. Not necessarily because we think we need to know everything, but because we trust Him. He is the source of life for us. He will not fail us. He will not forsake us. It says in 1 Corinthians, something that I think very vital for us to understand. It says, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know fully, just as I also have been fully known." When you look in that mirror, what do you see? Do you see the wrinkles? Do you see the fear? You see the anxiety? You see the stress? You see anxiety, fear? Is that what you see? Or do you see what God created you to be? His image and His likeness. This is why He created you. Do you see that? Or do you see what the world seemingly has made us to be? Dependent upon ourselves. Dependent upon the system of man, rather than trusting and putting faith in God. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. The time will come when we're going to see Him. And now we know in part, but then we shall know fully, just also as I have been fully known. He knows you. God knows you. He understands you. He has that assurance, that confidence in you, because He created you. He is the one that empowered you. He didn't just put you together and throw you out. No, He gave to you His breath of life. The breath of life. And in the blessing, He gave you the authority to rule. We've lost that because the enemy has deceived us. And instead we accept the fears and the worries, the anxieties, when in reality is greater is He who is in us than he who is in the world. When we look in that mirror, what do we see? What do we see? Do you see the image of God? That's how He created you. Do we give our minds that assurance, that confidence that this is who we are? Greater is He who is in us than he who is in the world. It tells us in 2 Corinthians, we walk by faith, not by sight. By faith. When we look in that mirror, do you see the flesh, or do you see the creation of God, the image of God, that which reflects in us who we are, what God intended us to be? Blessed is he who trusts in Him. He doesn't fail. If God said in the beginning, "Let us create man in our image and likeness," that's what He did. Yes, man had failed in the garden. He failed. And that which God had put within us died. And sin came in. The world was in havoc. But God's love for us was greater. He wasn't going to lose us. And so He sent Christ, who took upon the flesh, so that He could take upon our iniquities and our sin and set us free. And that He did. He went to the cross and gave us new life. Now we have to walk in that which He has given to us. When He finished the work, if you remember on the cross, He said, first, "Father, forgive them." Then at the end He said, "It is finished. It's done." Now some people think Christ failed. How foolish. He didn't fail. He had to pay the price. He did it for you and for me. It was not a failure. It was an awesome work of love, compassion. Just because he died, yes, he had to die because that was what God had said in the beginning. If you eat of this fruit, you shall die. And man had eaten the fruit, not an apple, but the fruit, the words of the enemy, deceiving us, causing us to have anxiety and fear, stress. But God has redeemed us through Christ. On the third day, he arose from the dead. Not a failure. How can you call that a failure? Not a failure. That's victory. Because he did that for all of us. We died in him, and we were resurrected in him. He did not fail us. Yes, we have to walk by that faith. And that faith sometimes is a struggle and a battle, because we live in the midst of deceit, and fear, corruption, anxiety, fear. We're in the middle of it. I go back to what I've said to you how many times. The 3 Hebrew children thrown into the fiery furnace. That's what the world is to us today, a fiery furnace. It's there to destroy us. It's there to destroy us. God created us in his image and likeness. And yet in some parts of the world, children are trying to change who they are. Because the enemy is trying to deceive them so that they will not be the image of God. Demonic. Demonic. And even governments supporting it. Demonic. It's not godly. God created you male and female. He doesn't make mistakes. We need to see that when we see ourselves. Do we see ourselves in the image and likeness of God? Maybe we're not quite there. Paul says, not that I have already obtained it, or have already become perfect, but I press on in order that I may lay hold of that for which also I was laid hold of by Christ. Christ was willing to pay the price. Yes, he was persecuted. They spat in his face. They pulled his hair. They beat him. Then they nailed him to the cross. The lowest death at that time that a person could die. But he didn't give up. Father, he didn't say, Father, kill him. Father, destroy them, beat them. No, he said, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know. This had to be. This had to be. Christ knew this. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he struggled with this. He knew he had to die. He knew he was going to be beaten. He knew there was punishment. But the words in his mouth, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do. They thought they were getting rid of him. But instead of getting rid of him, they were setting humanity free. He was forgiving humanity. How can that be failure? To prove that he did what he said he was going to do. I have come that I might destroy the works of the devil. On the third day, he rose again. That's not failure. That's not defeat. That's victory. But you see, when he was on the cross, he did not give up. Even though he was beaten, nailed to the cross, bleeding, hungry, thirsty, he didn't give up. He didn't give up. Even the thief on the cross, he forgave him. There was his faith, his confidence. Even in the midst of all of that, he did not give up. He held firm to who he was and what he was to be. And that's our challenge for us. In the midst of whatever the test may be, whatever the situation may be, don't give up. Those who hate you, forgive. Don't revenge, forgive. Show them the love that God has given to you. In James it says, prove yourself doers. See, Christ proved himself doers, not merely hearers who delude themselves. He did it. He had come to redeem man. He had come to destroy the works of the devil. He had come to bring life back to us and the fullness of it. He wasn't going to give up on that. That was his whole purpose of coming. Yes, he was going to be crucified. He was going to die. But it was not failure. It was victory. Because in so dying, he paid the penalty to set men free, to deliver us from darkness into the light of his glory. The old passed away. Now all things are new. This is the provision that he's given to us. Now we need to be challenged, prove ourselves doers of the word, not just merely hearers who delude themselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man who looks at himself in a natural face in a mirror. For once he has looked at himself and gone away, he has immediately forgotten what kind of a person he is. Who are you? You were created in the image and likeness of God. He breathed his breath into us. Greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue and reign. Now this is what God's given to us. Why do we allow the enemy to cause anxiety, fear? God promised, and he will not fail. He will not forsake us. No. No. He will not. When you see that in the mirror, see the image of God in you. See the confidence that God has given to you. Yes, maybe there's a situation you're going through and it's reflecting in your face. Put your faith in God, and in the midst of that image, in the midst of that problem, let the image of joy and peace be within you. Don't let people know. Don't murmur and complain and attack. No. Put your faith in God. God will change that. Sometimes we see the problem when we see it greater than what it really is. For God, all things are possible. His faith, his confidence is in that which he has promised you. He will not fail to take care of us. This is the hope we have in him. In 1 John it says, Beloved, now are you children of God, and it has not appeared as yet what we shall be. We know that when he appears we shall be like him, because we shall see him just as he is. This is the confidence. We don't see that now. It's faith. But it's how we're being changed from glory to glory, into his image, into his likeness. He won't fail us. He won't forsake us. But we must believe. It's more than just hearing, but it's doing. Faith without works is dead. We must trust him. Confidence in him. That what he has promised, he will do. So when we look in that mirror, what do you see? Do you see the image of Christ? You see the image of God, the likeness of God in you. He created you in his image and likeness. You think you're in the image of your mother, your father, your grandfather, your uncle, or somebody else. No, you're in the image of God. Like him. This is what he's done for us. That's the hope that is ours. Yes, we will see the flesh. But by faith we see who we really are. Who God has created us to be. His image and likeness in us. The hope that is ours. But if in 1 1 Corinthians again, it says, but if anyone loves God, he is known by him. Now remember, the scripture tells us in the Old Testament, God is love. If God is love and we're created in his image and likeness, that's our image also. That's the challenge we have, because the enemy wants us to be like him, angry, bitter, not forgiving, tearing down, beating. No, love, forgiving, helping, strengthening. That's who God is. That's how he loves you. And that's how we are to walk in him. Man is the only creation on earth that was willed to share in the life of Christ. Now, understand that. God so ordered it that we are to be like him. He didn't create the animals to be like him, or the birds or the fish. No, us, humanity, to be like him. We've lost that image because of sin, because of what Adam and Eve did. But Christ came to restore it. And remember, John 10:10, he came to bring life, and to bring life to its fullness. Not just part of it, not just some. Fullness, completeness. That's the hope we have. But we have to live it by faith, confidence. Because the enemy will still try to deceive us by bringing all kinds of problems to us. But greater is he who's with us. And we're created not to be overcome, but to be overcomers. Greater is he who's with us. We have to wait sometimes, like it says, Paul was talking, God told him, you suffered for a little while, then the glory will come. Because that suffering is a training period. It's strengthening us. We can overcome, we can be confident in him. In 1 John 1:6 it says, and we have come to know and believe the love which God has for us. Yes, God has love for us. God is love. And the one who abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. Do we have thanksgiving, love for what God has done? Do we put him first in our lives? Is he the most important thing? That's love. And if we love him, he loves us. He loves us, and we need to love him. By this love is perfected with us, that we may have confidence in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we also in this world. Listen to that. Now. This is what he's created us to be. Yes, we've lost that confidence, we've lost that faith, and in many cases we've lost the knowledge of that. We don't understand what it means. But greater is he who's with you. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Never. You can go to the highest mountain, you can go to the lowest valley. You can go to the depth of the sea. It says even you can go to hell. He's there. He's everywhere. He will not leave you. He will not forsake you. He will not turn against you. Provision. The image of God is us. We are like him. Are we living like him? You see, that's the challenge for us. We've taken upon the imagery of the world rather than the imageries of God. We're not to be like the world system. We're to be like God. We're to have that same provision in our lives, that character that's like him. Forgive, love, compassion. Not thinking of ourselves, but thinking of others. Putting them in a place wherein they can have that hope that we have. It's not just for us. We need not be self-centered and worried about us. God will take care of us. He won't fail us. He will not fail us. He said, I will supply all you need at the hour of our need. If our faith is in him, it will be there. He will supply. But our anxiety and our worries take away that faith and that hope, and we fail. But put your trust in him. He will not forsake. In 2 Peter it says, "For by these he has granted to us his precious and magnificent promises, in order that by them," those promises, you might become partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world by lust. How great. "For by these he has granted to us his precious and magnificent promises," granting to us everything pertaining to life and godliness. Everything. Everything. He came to destroy the works of the devil. He came to bring back life, that you might have life. That's what he came for. He didn't fail. We have to have the faith to accept it and believe it, because what he has done was for us. That's why he came. That's why he was born of Mary, to be identified with us, so that he would go through all the things that we have to go through. He says, I've been tempted with every temptation common to man. He's faced them all of them. Nothing is unique, nothing is different. And he paid the price to deliver us from those temptations, to give us new life. The old has passed away. Behold, all things are new, and all those new things are from God, from him, for us. This is who we are. It's about time we begin to understand this. We have this confidence in him, that we might become partakers of the divine nature, like him. We were created in his image and likeness. Is it wrong that we would think we could be like him? We're not him. Like him. Like him. Not quite the same level, quality perhaps, but like him. You know, it's like going to one of these places where they have all the counterfeit things. They're not quite the level of fullness or beauty that the original is. But yet it's there, like him, like it. Not it, but it's like it. And you can deceive people to think that's who you are, because that's how you live your life. That's how we feel things through at those points. 2 Corinthians says, "But we all with unveiled face, beholding as in a mirror the glory of the Lord." Do we see, when we look in the mirror, do we see the glory of the Lord? Or do we see the fear, the anxiety? We should see God's glory in us, because he created us in his image and likeness. We're being transformed into the same image, from glory to glory, just as the Lord, the Spirit. This is what he's given to us. This is the assurance, the confidence, the hope that is ours. Notice how much he loves us. How much is given to us that we could be like him. For you have died, your life is hidden with Christ in God. You're not living on your own. You're hidden with him in Christ. This is the assurance he has for us. It's the challenge, the hope. And I pray that this will challenge you to begin to accept what he's done for you. Believe it. Yes, it may be a struggle, because we've been trained by the world rather than being trained by God. But let him be alive in you. Let his glory be seen in you. Not fear, not anxiety, not anger, but faith, confidence. Whatever you face, it'll bring glory to him. So I challenge you in that. Let that be that which he brings to you in your life. And let this week be a time of preparing yourself, training yourself to be like him. Trust him. He will not fail you. Be blessed. And let his glory be seen in you for his honor